Hey, folks, thanks for joining me for this episode from the EmbellishPod. If you got here by chance, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button. Hopefully, I can be found on any podcasting platform that exists. And if you can't find me on a platform, send me an email at embellishpod@gmail.com and I'll get that taken care of. You can also find video versions of this podcast on YouTube. You can find all of my links on Instagram at EmbellishPod or TikTok with the same handle. I have a website. It is www.embellishpod.com. It's a place to pick up all of these links, episode details, and more. Today, I'm going to have Black Eden 1912 joining me to talk about their whiskey, their legacy, and where they're planning on going within the marketplace. Hope you guys enjoy. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whenever you happen to be consuming this. Today, we're going to have a conversation with the people behind the brand Black Eden 1912. Today, I have John and Dr. Wanda. And I'm not going to try to pronounce your name because I'm going to get it wrong. So I'm going to let you tell me the last name. But if you guys would just kind of give me a quick introduction to who you are.
Okay, so my name is John Joubert, and this is my lovely wife here, Dr. Wanda Joubert, and we are the owners of Black Eden 1912 brand, and we're based in Michigan.
So you're in Michigan and you have a whiskey brand, which historically might have been confusing, right? Because Michigan's really known for apples and fruits and a whole bunch of other stuff, but there's been kind of a resurgence in whiskey in Michigan. I guess when you decided to start building a brand, and you don't do just whiskey, you have other things that you guys do as well. But what brought you into the whiskey space specifically?
Okay, so the short version. So basically, I'm in the entertainment industry.
Hmm.
And so, from that aspect, I always understood how wine and spirits and entertainment go together from a branding and promotional standpoint. And so, I always wanted to get on the spirit side. And so, during 2020, my mother passed during that time. And so that sort of sparked me to started to really get serious about getting into the wine and spirits. And we didn't start at that point. Well, we still waited a little bit. So we officially started our company, which is called Iconic Spirits. We started that in the end of 2023. And under that, we developed two brands. And so one brand is our wine brand called
Hmm.
Phyllis, which is named after my mother. And then we developed the Black Eaton 1912 brand, which is our bourbon and our Moscato wine.
Hmm.
And I think during that time, when we started when we wanted to develop a brand, a whiskey brand, something that's unique and special, um, we decided to name it Black Eden because of the historical significance of it and our attachment um, to what Black Eden was named. And so Black Eden was the nickname of a historical Black resort community in Idlewild, Michigan. And the community was established in 1912. And so, during that time, Black folks weren't allowed to go to white resorts, for entertainment, fun, and just, leisure time and relaxation. And they didn't have the opportunity to get a chance to go see their own perform. And
Hmm.
so, out of this, one of the early curators of the community in Ottawa was Dr. Daniel Hale Williams, who was the first African American, well, he's the first doctor, period, to perform open heart surgery. And so he had a vision to turn that community into a resort community, for African Americans from all over to be able to come to and have fun, see performers, and just have a great time. And so during that time, he recruited some other well-known African Americans, such as Madam C.J. Walker, Bill Pickens, Dr. W.E.D. Du Bois, and so many more. And during the time of the Chitlin Circuit, which was like the 40s, 50s, early 60s, it became the go-to place for African American performers to, go to and perform. One, because it was a all black owned resort, right?
Mhm.
And two is because it was a space where they felt comfortable and they felt safe, and was able to just really relax and enjoy themselves. And we're talking about performers such as like Calloway, Dizzy Gillespie, Etta James, Sarah Vaughan, Jackie Wilson, a
Mhm.
young BB King, Aretha Franklin, and not just entertainers, but comedians as well. Um, Also, just famous athletes, Sugar Ray Robinson, Joe Louis, Satchel Paige. So some of who's who in our culture
Mhm.
came to Idlewild, and it became the go-to place. And so this is why they nicknamed it Black Eden. Now, our connection to the community was that we also had a lake home that was passed down to our family.
Mhm.
So by us having that intimate connection with the community is what sparked me and my wife to come up with the name, to celebrate that Black excellence as well as pay homage to that history.
Yeah, and I mean, Idlewild is not just about entertainment and vacation, but it's really like a representation of Black entrepreneurship at a time when that was sort of unheard of and unexpected. Did you have this idea that you were going to eventually pay homage to Idlewild before you ever even thought about whiskey, or as you started thinking about whiskey and wine and what you were doing, did you say, okay, now I know the thing that I'm going to give to it? Kind of, I guess, which one came first?
I think we didn't think about what we were going to name it or celebrate it in the beginning. So I
Hmm.
think once we knew that we were going to go forward, with curating a whiskey brand, then the ideal of, what, let's celebrate that and let's name it after that. So
Hmm.
sort of the latter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've been going to Idlewild quite a bit, and we just saw the heritage of it and just the how whiskey or celebration or
Hmm.
spirits would kind of connect with the spirit of Idlewild. So when we were thinking about the brand, we wanted to do something that was meaningful, that celebrated, that actually paid homage to an area, as well as provided people with information about something that's not very well known.
Hmm.
So that's when we were just sitting and thinking about it. We said, you know what? We just come back from Idlewild at the time, and we said, you know what? What about Idlewild? And we didn't want to use the name Idlewild per se, and so we just started brainstorming a little bit more. And we said, you know what? This is a place where there was happiness, there was joy, there was Black excellence. There were people. There were over 300 thriving businesses at one point that African Americans owned. So we wanted to kind of tie this experience into the celebration of Idlewild, and that's how we came up with it.
Yeah, and I could feel it would probably be pretty weighty to just name it Idlewild, right? Because
Yeah.
there is such a significant piece of history attached to it, and you put a
Hmm.
whiskey brand up against it, and you're like, it's big shoes to fill, I guess,
Yeah.
and finding a way to represent such an important thing to you and to the community that you represent is phenomenal. Educational aspect that's right in whiskey. Whiskey loves to do that.
Hmm.
But entertainment was a big part of it. Do you envision using your Black Eden brand as a part of entertainment as well?
Absolutely. Yes, we right now we sponsor a comedy show every year. Well, this year it'll be the third year, and so that is a way that we sort of bring our brand, together with comedy and entertainment. And right now, with our brand, we have just announced a new brand ambassador who's a very talented international superstar guitarist, and his name is Marcus Machado. And
Mhm.
so we just brought him on as a brand ambassador for us. And so again, this is a way that we're continuing to celebrate um, excellence, through history,
Mhm.
culture, and arts. So Yes, definitely bringing entertainment and Idlewild together with Black
Absolutely.
Eaton.
And go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think I saw or maybe read somewhere that Marcus may be curating a spirit underneath the label. Did I see that, or am I imagining that?
No, you did see that.
Mhm.
So what is he staying in the whiskey realm, or is he just kind of the he can do whatever he wants to? It's just a part of the brand.
Well, right now I don't want to give up too much of what he wants to do, but
Mhm,
he's definitely interested in having his own brand of
mhm.
whiskey, and so that is something that we will help him develop.
Right.
So stay tuned.
Perfect. Yeah, and like I said, I don't. I'm not trying to dig too deep into the things that you're trying to do in the future because that's how you keep some mystique to the brand, and you make
Yes.
sure that that people getting there. So the 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 brand began, as far as what I came across. The brand began. It wasn't just the two of you. It was the two of you plus some friends. Is that correct, or are y'all still involved in this together, or is it just the two of y'all now?
Yes. So those they're our partners, Jason and Kenyatta Ross. They're childhood friends. What I grew up with Jason because we're both from Detroit,
Mhm.
and so him and his wife wanted to be a part of the movement, and so they are. Right now, they're residing in Nevada, but
Mhm.
yes, they're a part of Black Eaton.
So they say sometimes it's a bad idea to do business with friends and family. This feels like this is working out. Did one of you come up with the business plan first, or was it just like, hey, we're working on this, and they were like, yeah, we want to get involved in it?
Uh, Basically, we came up with everything, created the brand and had the ideal of it. But along the way, there was something that also sparked, their interest, and they wanted to be a part of it because they knew it was going to be, something special. And so, that's how we came together.
I
Okay.
think initially it was the brainchild of John and I, because we were just sitting around thinking about what we wanted to do
Hmm.
and how we were going to make this something that's going to be spectacular going forward. And when we sat and talked to them about what we were thinking, they were really eager to join and help us out in getting this where it needs to be.
Hmm. And so, starting a whiskey brand or starting any brand, any product line is a pretty significant undertaking. When you came up with the idea, you had to kind of go out and find where you're going to get your whiskey from, what your flavor profile is going to be, where you're going to get your Moscato from, what you want that to sort of taste like. Can you tell me a little bit about the process and the beginning stages of how you worked your way to where you are right now?
So starting with the wine, because that was the first thing that we developed.
Hmm.
We had an idea of the types of wine, that we liked, and we had an idea of how we wanted to attack the market from a standpoint of different types of wine, right? And so we wanted to make sure that we were able to cover three bases. One was we wanted to have a red blend, which was a little more uh, sophisticated for
Hmm.
your more mature palate drinkers, wine drinkers. Then we wanted to have a sweet wine, in which we have our sweet rosé, right? And then we also want to cover the gamut. We want to have a white as well, and so that is our Moscato. And so our wines are made in Michigan,
Hmm.
um, and so we went out, um, checked with a lot of different wineries, to see what makes sense for us. And so once we found that winery, we sat down with them, we went over everything, we went over what we wanted, um, how we wanted our wines to taste, the flavor profile, everything about them, and then we went into production. And so, sort of the same thing. Well, it's a little different with whiskey, because we weren't able. So, of course, we don't own a distillery, right?
Hmm.
So that's the end goal, right? And so we had to find out, well, how could we get into the market, um, with whiskey? So we checked around with a lot of different distilleries and manufacturers, and so we finally we settled with one, and we got together, and again we went over our the profile, what we wanted, specifically what type of mash bill that we wanted. We and during the whole time, we also had an idea of the type of customer that we were going to be pushing our bourbon towards, that we think that would really enjoy it. And so, we came together and put it together.
So you mentioned in there, you sort of just flipped in there that you eventually want to have a distillery, which that's a huge undertaking for sure. Is your wines are all made in Michigan? Is your whiskey made in Michigan as well, or is it from another state?
Well, our whiskey is from another state, but our distillery is in Illinois. That's our
Gotcha.
co-packer, and so that's where we proof our whiskey. That's where we add all those special things to it to make it special.
Right. So you've developed a mash bill, I guess. How did you go out and taste a whole bunch of other whiskeys that were out there and kind of find the things you like in one and the things you like in another and sort of put it together like a recipe, or did somebody guide you through it? Like how did you get to your mash bill situation?
I think we did a lot of tasting, as well as we did some research to find out what recipe or what formula gives the taste that we like. We know we
Hmm.
wanted something smoky. We wanted something that was good, that tastes good on the palate, but also had a finish, on the back end.
Yeah.
Because when you're coming into the space of whiskey, it's very important that you can't come in with something that's gimmicky, right?
Hmm.
Your brand has to be able to stand up next to all of your traditional brands that's been, in business for years, right? And so we wanted to make sure that our brand, our juice, was able to stand up, against that. And so just a lot of tasting, some guidance, and a lot of research.
Hmm. So you also said you identified the type of customer that you were targeting, which I haven't heard a whole lot of brands do that, and it's really smart because in my day job I work in software, and we try to identify the customer that we want to build the software for and then build to it. It's a lot easier to identify what they were after. When you're building out the type of customer that you're tracking down, are you looking for, and the way you've described this, I have some ideas. Are you looking for like a new drinker? Are you looking for someone who's been around for a while? Are you looking for kind of those intermediate folks, or are you trying to build, given the flavor profile you're saying here, it sort of sounds like you're building a flavor profile that would fit all of them, but would target one specific group heavily?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think when we were building, we were building to target everyone, people
Mhm.
who are novice drinkers, people who have been drinking whiskey for a long time. And a lot of, I know women, it's not a thing that people usually think that women drink whiskey. So I think when we were building a profile, we wanted something that was palatable, not so much burn, but still a good finish on the end, so that the the novice drinker would like the whiskey, as well as the people who are seasoned drinkers of whiskey would appreciate the taste and the profile as well. So overall, I think we were just trying to make sure that this is a brand that will be liked by all.
Mhm. And I think, at least from what I've seen over the years that I've drank whiskey, usually, because we do say this, you're trying to attract a female profile, and it's really not about a female profile as much as it is the novice drinker. And whiskey historically has not been marketed to women at all, and
Mhm.
so they're likely going to be novices because they don't necessarily feel welcome in the space. Right? It's a whole bunch
Mhm.
of people that look exactly like me, all like you got to drink it at 136 proof, and you've got to drink it neat, and that's the only way that you do it. And if you make it in a cocktail, if you proof it down, you do all these things, it's wrong. And it's wrong headed. That is a terrible way to approach it, but it creates this stigma that women don't like whiskey, and novices don't like whiskey because everybody else that's drinking whiskey, at least around me, are usually pretentious assholes. And so they kind of develop this situation where it's like, oh well, we're self-limiting in how we put this together. But so you mentioned in there that you like you want it to have a good finish. You want it to have some smoke to it. So I guess tell me what the flavor profile of Black Eden 1812 or 1912 is.
Okay. So our flavor profile is you're gonna come off with vanilla, a lot of caramel, nice caramel base, um, some dry candy flavor, persimmon, and also a touch of peppermint. And what you get on our finish is the rye that's in our bourbon. So um, you sort of put all those things together, um, and the smell, as I described the flavor profile, the smell is just as accentuating as the taste. So, I love when someone is trying our bourbon for the first time and they have their cup up. And so, the first thing they do is they put their nose in it. And so they go in like that. And I just love to see their face light up because that lets me know that they're getting ready to enjoy
With their smelling.
with their smelling. Yes.
And I love that you said persimmon, right? Because it's not a note that's traditionally given by whiskey folks, and it feels like, or at least around here, I live in rural Kentucky. Persimmon's a pretty common thing for us to sort of understand, but you don't see it in elevated profiles. It's not like some of the other notes that you might like. Currant people you like black currant is the flavor. I don't know what the hell a black currant tastes like, but I know what a persimmon tastes like for sure.
Right.
That's sort of what it is. Like, so you guys are based out of Michigan. What does your distribution look like right now?
So right now, so interesting story. So we launched our bourbon into the market last year. I would say September, October, right? And so the first market we went into was Illinois, right? So we are currently in Illinois, Maryland, and DC, and we just launched in our home state, Michigan, about a month ago. And reason why Michigan is a controlled state, so there's a liquor commission that controls every aspect, of the process. So it took us a little longer, to get going, but eventually we did. And so again, we launched about 3 weeks to a month ago, and right now we are in the talks. We are in talks with a distributor in Wisconsin because we do have our license in Wisconsin. We have our license in Texas, Nevada, and Georgia as well. So right now we're in the talks with securing distribution in those markets, and then we'll be in those markets.
And also New York too.
Yeah, New York as well. And coming soon, we're going to make our bourbon available online. So we're working on that as well.
And it'll be I'm glad those markets at that point.
Yeah, I'm glad you said Illinois. I've got to travel to Chicago next week, and so I'm going to try to sneak around and see if I can find a bottle. Right?
Yes,
because
definitely.
I'm here in Western Kentucky. We're in the wastelands of the part of the state that nobody ever claims. So there's a lot of challenges in launching a brand, right? In making it this far, you've obviously probably overcome quite a few of them. Is there any one of them that sort of stuck out in the middle of it that, if you'd have known when you began building this brand that you were going to bump into this hurdle, you would have been like, we're just going to do something different?
For me, I definitely can say having someone who is very knowledgeable in the compliance part. Because I think, when you're coming into an industry and one such as this that has so many different, rules and regulations to obtain your licenses, because, each state is like 50 different countries when it comes to compliance with wine and spirits, because, spirits, there are different compliances from wine, right? And so we had to sort of learn that the hard way because we literally tried to do it ourselves. And so, it was very, very challenging, although I was able to learn a lot from doing that. But we eventually was able to get a compliance expert on board, and so now it's make the process much more easier. But if we could have started over in the beginning, we probably would have tried to seek out a compliance person first, just to save us a lot of headache and frustration and and time.
But I
Yeah.
think even with that frustration and time and everything that we had to go through, we still would have done it again. Because I
Mhm.
know you ask, what would have made us, if we'd known this, what would we have said? No, we're not going to do it because this is too hard. I think that this is a journey, and because
Mhm.
we are learning the process,
Mhm.
it's hard. It's
Mhm.
not an easy thing, and something we bump our heads a lot of times. But I don't think we would have done anything different. Like say, well, gosh, that's going to be too hard, and we're not going to do it. We're the type of people who are going to stand in the challenge and kind of forge through it and figure it out and
Mhm.
find people to help us figure it out along the way.
Yeah, and that's literally what we're doing, and what we have been doing is figuring it out. And as we're going through our journey, certain people and certain resources are sort of just falling right into place. So
Hmm.
Mhm. So that's a good place to kind of maybe lean into. Um, Having assistance, and this is what I've ran into even within the podcasting space within whiskey, is that there's a lot of people that are open and willing to kind of help along the way. Has there been any kind of like one person or one group that has been the things like this has kept us kind of moving forward in a regular pace?
um, so what I'm getting from your question is, was there a
Any per
situation?
No,
Single
I mean, like
person.
any person within the whiskey space already that just kind of was like, you know what, I want to help see you guys succeed.
Yeah, yes, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we have came across some individuals like that who have really been um, very inspiring for us,
Mhm.
and they have give us some um, advice, with that advice that we need, and that advice that's specially for us, because they knew what we needed specifically, and they were
Mhm.
able to provide that advice. So yes, we have had some people along the way being able to provide that for us.
So you've got this really significant story that sits behind the name of the brand. How do you kind of walk the line between building the brand and telling the story at the same time, so you're kind of elevating them both at the same time without necessarily putting one in front of the other? Because putting your brand in front of the history could be problematic. Putting the history in front of the brand is counterintuitive to the business in and of itself. Like, how are you balancing that?
That's a great question, and I think we're learning that as we go.
Hmm.
But I think we're getting better at it, at being able to balance both, to talk about both, because we know behind every uh, good whiskey, there's even a greater story
Hmm.
behind it. And for the whiskeys that have the great story, the brand sort of culminates, and it goes together. So it's a very good blend of doing both. And I think we're getting better at promoting both of them, not overshadowing one. But we do understand that because of the name of our brand and what it means, we understand that the story is very important. So we always want to be able to capture, get that story, get people to, well, get the story to resonate with individuals, but at the same time, tie it back into the whiskey, because without the story, the whiskey may not have been um, inspired by that.
Hmm.
I think because we have a great story and a great bourbon, I think that we're able to push both at the same time, because when people hear the story, they are very intrigued and want to know more. And when people taste the bourbon, they are very intrigued and want to buy more and want to drink
Hmm.
more. So I think that it's been a good balance for us, because the story is great and the whiskey is great as well. So we've been able to kind of walk it together, telling the story and telling about the brand, and letting people know what how the whiskey tastes, and let them taste it themselves, and people appreciate the marriage of both of those things.
Hmm. And so you've got a partnership with Marcus as he's kind of developing a thing, and there's a significant entertainment component that comes from the story of Black Eden. Would we potentially see other partnerships within the entertainment industry? Because you've got the comedy thing, you've got Marcus. Is this going to continue where you're going to tie into that? Because the names that you rolled off that are tied to the Idlewild are really, really, really significant, right? And there's stories within every single one of them. Are you going to continue to kind of grow with other artists, or just focus on what you've got already?
No, absolutely. We're going to continue to grow where there's, where there's relationships at, and if it makes sense, for the artists and for our brand, that is
Mhm.
something that we definitely will continue to do. And we're very strategic at doing it. We have a purpose for doing it. Not only the individuals, not only the space that they're in, but also the markets that they're in. So we have a plan on how we're going to attack bringing on other brand ambassadors. Now, we also have another brand ambassador who is a celebrity chef by the name of Chef Rome, and he's
Mhm.
based in Illinois. And so what Chef has been able to do is bring our Black Eden brand to the culinary world.
Mhm.
So I think this is something that sort of sets us apart from some other brands,
Right.
because now it's not just about the whiskey itself, but it's about the brand itself. And so now we're going to be going into some other spaces. So,
Mhm.
but everything we're doing is intentional and it's strategic.
Yeah, and tying in with a chef, which I think is really smart, right? Because chefs are all about flavor. At the end of the day, if they put their name on something that doesn't have a good flavor profile, it's going to kind of fizzle out, and it's going to ruin their name at the same time. Because
Yes. Yeah.
it has to taste good. Like, food has to taste good, and
Absolutely.
if a chef puts his name on a whiskey brand and the whiskey is not good, credibility is completely lost. So
Absolutely.
there's significant room for growth within the brand that you're building right now, and you've already mentioned the intent and the expectation to eventually have a distillery where you're doing this yourself. If we were having this conversation, say 10 years from now, what would you think that what would you like to see the brand look like in 10 years?
Oh, wow. What would you like to see
Wow.
it?
Growth, 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 growth. We are working on many different things for the brand, Black Eden 1912, as well as everything else we're doing. And like
Mhm.
John mentioned, we're working with a chef. So right now we're working on some RTDs as well,
Mhm.
with the Black Eden, with the bourbon.
Mhm.
So the RTDs would be bourbon based. We're working on some other food items with the chef using the bourbon. So
Mhm.
we're looking to not just have whiskey as a brand, but many other things, cigars, all type of things that will
Mhm.
make up the brand Black Eaton 1912. So it'll be a household name, not just for the whiskey. That will be the start, of course, and
Mhm.
the Moscato, but we're looking to expand and just make this Black Eat 1912 a household name, that the history also goes in the household and
Mhm.
people understand just the things that went on back in that era and how significant it is even today.
And we're not just we want it to be international as well.
Mhm.
So we're not just going to be, on this side of the globe, but we have some aspirations of going international. So
Mhm. That's the that's a fantastic growth goal, and looking at RTDs and understanding, or at least from other distilleries that I've talked to, the trend, at least for the youngest generation that's just now coming of age to drink, they're not looking to drink large quantities, but they are looking to drink with flavor and with intent
Mhm.
and with cocktails, and so they're not going to consume at the same high level, but it's going to have to be, they still want to, just not as much, and they're going to want it to taste good, right? And so
Yes.
RTDs are a big part of that, right? And
Yes.
it's historically, it's been sort of a dirty word within the whiskey industry. Like, RTDs are what you do, but they make a lot of money and people love them at the end of the day,
Mhm.
right? And
yes,
if you've got
yes,
a good base whiskey to start with, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Mhm.
absolutely. And we want to capture them. the market, the customers, from different segmentations.
So we
Why
want to
not?
erase the dirty words and make it a good words when you hear RTD and bourbon, and then, and of course the seasoned drinkers probably. No, we're hoping that everybody will, and
Right.
hopefully they'll taste it and go, "This is really good. I don't have to
Mhm.
make my old fashioned by myself, and now I have
Mhm.
this great RTD that's captured everything I would make it, how I make it myself." So
Mhm.
we're trying to erase the dirty words and the tradition completely that's been established for bourbon and whiskey, and making it more global for other people to enjoy as well. So hopefully we can do that. That's our
Yeah.
goal.
I mean, it feels like you're heading in the right direction on that because your name is popping up in a lot of the spaces where people are having conversations, right? So whether it be large whiskey groups or social media groups or whatever, you start to see this sort of percolate to the top, which is pretty impressive considering you're looking at an idea that began less than 6 or 7 years ago, to the fact that it's in bottle and people are picking it up and you're growing into multiple states. You're in what, 4 states with maybe 5 more to come in the next few months, which is you know uh, unless you start off with a $25 million budget to begin with, right?
We would like
It's a
We
that.
would
Do
like,
you
we
know
would,
anyone with that?
yes, yes,
That's
no, I don't.
willing to get let us have it.
Yeah,
yes.
no, I am unaware of anyone that has that kind of money. I've got 2 kids downstairs that chew up all my money, so
I know.
Um,
Understood.
so I don't think we've talked much about the Moscato at all, and I want to talk about that a little bit as well. So what you've got a wine line that is separate, right? And the Black Eden 1912 has whiskey and Moscato. So what made that Moscato fit into this particular segment as opposed to the wine segment?
I think, um, let's see. So when we first came up with okay, so let's dial it back. So when we were sponsoring an event in Ottawa, comedy show, right?
Mhm.
This was before we had the whiskey. Um, so we developed the Moscato first, and so
Gotcha.
we knew that it was going to be, our Black Eden was going to be the
Mhm.
forefront of it because we knew the bourbon was going to come at some point. But we
Mhm.
thought that just getting the brand out there and just having it present at the comedy show in Ottawa, just to do it like at the test run to see what people think,
Mhm.
how people were going to feel about the name of the brand being, paying homage to the community. And
Mhm.
so we sort of put it out there as a test run, just to see.
Right.
And the wine is very good. It's excellent wine. It's a semi-sweet Moscato. So
Mhm.
most Moscatos are sweet and syrupy.
Yep.
Ours is semi-sweet, so it has its own character, its own personality. I like to describe it as a fresh sweetness, right?
Mhm.
And so I think it went very well. People was very receptive of it,
Mhm.
and it just made them um, just be on the lookout and just really make them feel like, okay, they can't wait
Mhm.
until the bourbon comes.
They were pretty
Mhm.
much our focus group when we first got it.
Yes.
The Moscato, we took it to that event and we let people sample it, and it was a hit. People really enjoyed it. We took our other wines too, and of course they enjoyed those as well. But I think they really enjoyed the Moscato, one because it's a great wine, and two because it was Black Eaton 1912, which
Mhm.
they too had some connection to. So people were taking the bottles, wanting a bottle, and we realized then that number one, we did great with the name and people
Mhm.
excited about it,
Hmm.
and then great with the product, the wine. It happens to be one of my favorites. The because I do like sweet, so I do enjoy the Moscato, and I always tell people the story of when men drink it. I've seen many go, I don't drink Moscato. That same event, nope, I'm not. I don't like Moscato at all. And then when they
Mhm.
taste it, they go, oh my,
Mhm.
I think I like Moscato now. I like
Right.
this Moscato. So we're really proud of that.
Yeah, that definitely can be the case. You get a preconceived notion in your head. You don't like it because you had
Mhm.
one before, and maybe
Mhm.
it tasted, as sweet as pancake syrup, right? That doesn't mean all of them taste that way, right? Because I've had some Moscato before as well, and I would definitely say it's on the sweet end, and it's that's not the only way that particular thing. It's exact same thing with whiskey, right? Like it can be on the super sweet side, or it can be on the super dry side. It can go any number of different directions. But it's a smart idea to bounce the name off of people with that kind of leading brand, because
Mhm.
they could have gone the exact opposite direction too, right? Whenever you're
Mhm.
assuming a name like that, people can either be elated by it, or they can, just, how could you, right? Like that could
Yeah,
be the
yeah.
reaction. Like, you don't
Right.
do that, they're
Right.
holding, which is phenomenal. And you've mentioned the comedy event a couple of times. I guess I would be remiss without asking, like, when do you have the comedy event? How do people get to the comedy event?
So the comedy event takes place around Juneteenth
Hmm.
holiday. So if it falls closer to the weekend of Juneteenth, and so
Hmm.
this will be the fourth year of doing it, but this will be our third year of being the
Sponsor.
primary sponsor of
Mhm.
it.
Hmm.
And so again, people can go to our website at iconic, and that's iconic with a K,
Hmm.
iconicspirits.biz, or they can go to our social media page of iconic_spirits, and they'll start to see when we advertise,
Hmm.
when flyers go up, where they'll be able to get tickets, the dates and all the other information regarding the event. Who will be performing, um,
Hmm.
the whole the whole gambit.
Now, are you involved in the planning of that, or are you a title sponsor, and somebody else does the planning of it?
No, so we are involved in the planning of it. The main planner is my cousin.
Hmm.
So I'd like to say shout out to Dana Joubert. So she is the main planner of it, and so but we do help her and assist on how things are going to go,
Hmm.
for that particular evening. And again, with us being the main sponsor and providing the libations for the night, so
Hmm.
we just try to make sure that we're on the same page and that everything goes smoothly.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the main reason I ask is because you're already trying to build a whiskey brand, and you're also now doing event planning for stuff. It feels like June's a pretty hectic time, right? Because you're trying to sell stuff, and you're also trying to plan
Mhm.
big events.
I think you have to do it all when you're small like us,
Hmm.
until we find that person that you were talking about with the millions, and then, or
Right.
we just be that person, those people with the millions, and then
Hmm.
we can kind of get more people to do it. But we don't mind doing it. We have been in the trenches, really working hard so that we can promote our brand.
Yeah, and bootstrapping is the story of most
Mhm.
large, or most successful businesses. A lot of folks start out kind of that way.
Mhm.
Um, you know, it, the there's a hundred different ways I could go with the next set of questions, that I'm trying to figure out where I want to go. My brain's sort of all over the place. Um, so you mentioned social media as an outlet. Do you guys do most of your communication through social media, through emails, through website? I guess where's the most up to date information that I can go and get for what you're doing?
Probably social media is like the communicative platform or
Hmm.
way or system of the day for everyone now.
Hmm.
So our social media is where our stuff is updated
Daily.
daily on
Mhm.
a daily
Hmm.
basis, and then it can go to our website, which it won't be daily, but we do a good job with trying to keep everything updated on our website. But definitely, if they go to our social media pages, they will see things on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember a time whenever, to be a legitimate company, you had to have a website, and now we're at a place where you don't really have to. As long as you got a strong social media presence, you may not even have a website. And people, some of my employees are young enough that they're like, "You go to websites?" I'm like, I hate that.
Yeah.
Come on, that was a measure of success when you finally had enough attention that you built a website. It was like, yeah, things change. Right? I'm getting
Yeah,
I'm getting
They
old a little
they
bit.
do
do.
quickly, very quickly.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about events. Are there any events that you guys are planning on attending as the brand beyond the comedy show?
Yes, so we will be exhibitors in the beer, barbecue, and bourbon festival, which takes place in Maryland. So we're excited to be one of the exhibitors there. We will also be an exhibitor at the USA Trade Tasting, which happens later on in the summer in Chicago. We have recently been selected to be one of the brands that will be sponsoring the ESPYs.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So
wow.
we're looking very forward to that event. We can't wait for that. So that's very ecstatic for us because now we will be able to have our brand on a world stage with all of your bells and whistles when it comes to marketing, television, everything as well. We also our brand did make an appearance on the Soul Train cruise earlier this year, and we're happy to announce that we will be back on the
Mhm.
Soul Train cruise later in the fall this year. So we're very excited about that as well.
So that ties into the music you talked about before too. That we're going to be celebrating some of the greats through the Soul Train Music Cruise,
Mhm.
which is, if you probably know, Don Cornelius, one of the greats. So we're
Mhm.
really excited about that, and that will pull the legacy in again with the music and the entertainment and things like that.
Yeah, you're going to be in an audience where you can tell the story of the brand and the story of Idlewild at the same time. And that was one of the things I did see on social media. You guys did post that up there, and as I was kind of scrolling through and looking at different things, I was like,
Yes.
"That's pretty huge, right? For a budding brand to have that kind of an appearance in a number of different ways. You're talking about the ESPYs, you're talking about this cruise, you're talking about all of these different places where you're making the correct moves. I think that there's a phenomenal growth opportunity with what you guys have going on. I'm going to absolutely sneak off to a liquor store in Chicago wherever I can try to find a bottle. Because if not, I've got a friend that lives near Chicago. I'll just have him keep an eye out, and he won't ship one in the mail because that would be illegal if he did.
Yes,
Yeah.
we don't
I
want to
definitely
say
would
that.
not.
Right, not that.
Yeah, if you ship through UPS, that's just violating a company policy. It's not breaking a law, but that I don't know anything
Technically,
about
you're
that.
right. Yeah.
But so I think I'm pretty close to the end of questions that I have. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you would have you want to talk about from the brand perspective or from any perspective for that matter?
Anything you?
I think we covered a lot of questions and a lot of space too. So I think we did it.
Yeah, I think we covered just about everything. Now, of course, when we get off, we're probably gonna. Oh, wow, we probably should have talked about that.
Right.
So,
That's usually the way it goes. I'll be sitting downstairs thinking of like, oh, here's this other question that I really should have asked, but well, that means we'll just have to do another one, right? We'll have to talk about this again after the cruise is
Absolutely.
over and after the
Absolutely.
events are over, and once you have your $25 million investor, we'll have
Yes.
another conversation. We'll see what happens next. But
Yeah, and then by that time you would have been able to taste Black Eden, get you a
yeah,
taste.
everyone in the world will be.
You'll
If
be able
if
to
you're at
comment on
$25 million, everybody in the world's getting an opportunity to try what you guys are doing for sure, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I appreciate the time that you've given me. The only thing in the world you can't create more of is time, and it's a really precious commodity. So, thanks for hopping on and telling me the story of what you guys have going on.
Thank you.
It's a fantastic story, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the EmbellishPod. If you enjoyed this, please leave me a review on whatever platform that you're consuming this on and leave a comment if possible. Hit me up on social media on TikTok or Instagram using EmbellishPod and give me a follow so you can keep up with what's going on here. I can be found at www.embellishpod.com with all of my links, accounts, contact details, and more. Thanks for stopping by.